There is a feeling moving through your life right now that you have not been able to name. Not anxiety, not grief, not the kind of tired that sleep fixes. Something else entirely. Something older than any of those words. This has already been happening. You just did not have the language for it yet. And because of it, something in your life is about to shift. Welcome. If you have been carrying a feeling you cannot quite explain, a strange restlessness underneath the exhaustion, a sense that your life is standing at the edge of something, this video was made for the exact shape of what you are experiencing. Subscribe if no one in your life has been able to explain what you are going through. Because that is exactly what we are going to do here. There are 7 signs that this feeling is not a breakdown. Sign number 4 is the one most people find impossible to explain away. And the final sign changes the way you will understand every difficult chapter of your life from this point forward. Stay with me. Sign number 1. You feel like a stranger inside your own routine. You wake up. You do the things. The coffee. The commute. The meetings. The evenings. And somewhere in the middle of all of it, a quiet thought arrives. This does not fit anymore. Not in a dramatic way. Nothing has collapsed. Nothing has gone wrong. But internally something no longer matches. Most people assume this means they are depressed, or ungrateful, or that they have simply lost perspective. It is not. It is misalignment. Anthropologist Arnold van Gennep spent his life studying the moments when human beings move from one phase of existence to the next. He called it liminality, the threshold, the betwixt and between. He found that before any real transformation, people first experience a profound dissolving of the life that used to feel like home begins to feel like a costume. Not a tragedy, a signal. What this means for you is this. That feeling of being a stranger in your own schedule is not emptiness. It is the first quiet knock of a different chapter trying to get your attention. You are not imagining it. The fit is changing because you are. But here is where it gets uncomfortable. Sign number 2. Your body is saying no before your mind has caught up. You feel it in specific places. The tightness across your chest when you think about a certain commitment. The lump in your throat in a meeting you cannot explain. The bone-deep fatigue that arrives not after hard work, but after pretending. Your body is doing something your mind is still too rational to admit. Most people assume this is stress, cortisol, poor sleep, nervous system overload. Those things may describe the mechanism. They do not explain the timing. Gerd Gigerenzer, a researcher at the Max Planck Institute, spent years studying what he called gut intelligence, the way human beings process complex, high-stakes information through physical sensation before conscious reasoning catches up. He found that the body often knows first. It identifies misalignment, threat, or wrongness not through logic, but through a kind of somatic fluency we have spent decades learning to override. What this means for you is this. That physical resistance you have been labeling as anxiety, the tight chest, the shallow breath, the heaviness may not be malfunction. It may be information. Your body already knows something your mind is still negotiating. One man ignored this for months. Every time he tried to sign a major contract, his body flooded with fatigue. He called it stress. He pushed through. Months later, the business dissolved into fraud. His exact words afterward were, "My brain saw the money. My body knew the truth first." You have a body that is trying to tell you something. That is not weakness. That is not even the part that changes things. Sign number 3. Time is behaving strangely. Some days drag through hours like they are made of water. Other days disappear entirely, and you cannot account for where they went. You find yourself losing track of weeks. Or you feel strangely outside of your own timeline, watching your life from a slight remove, as if you are a visitor in your own story. Most people assume this is burnout or distraction, or the way modern life moves too fast. It is not. It is transition. Psychologist William Bridges spent decades studying what he called the neutral zone, the psychological phase that sits between endings and beginnings. He found that during genuine life transitions, the brain naturally alters its relationship to time. Days stretch or compress. Focus becomes unreliable. The mind is not malfunctioning. It is reorganizing, releasing old structures of meaning before new ones can form. What this means for you is this. That foggy, untethered relationship with time that you have been experiencing is not a symptom of something going wrong. It is the internal architecture of your life being quietly rebuilt. You are not losing your mind. You are between chapters. And what comes next is the pattern most people never identify. Sign number 4. Things keep repeating in ways that feel impossible to dismiss. The same song finds you in 3 unrelated places in a single week. A word you had never heard before appears 4 times across 4 separate conversations. Someone you were just thinking about reaches out. A theme, a concept, a question, an image keeps surfacing through books, conversations, and late-night thoughts you did not plan to have. Most people assume this is confirmation bias, the brain noticing what it is primed to look for. And that explanation is partly true. It is not the whole truth. Carl Jung, one of the most rigorous psychological minds of the 20th century, proposed what he called synchronicity, the clustering of meaningful coincidences during periods of inner reorganization. He found that when the unconscious mind is undergoing major restructuring, it begins to perceive patterns in the external world that mirror its internal movement. The repeating symbols are not proof of magic. They are evidence that your attention has narrowed, that something in you is searching for confirmation that you are on the edge of something real. What this means for you is this. Those repetitions you have been half noticing and half dismissing are not accidents. They are your own psyche, trying to show you something your conscious mind has not yet been willing to see. It feels like the universe clearing its throat, because in a way it is. This is the part most people miss. But what comes next is the sign most people find hardest to explain away. Because this one does not just happen around you. This one happens through you. Sign number 5. You have become very still. Not peaceful. Not calm in the way that comes from resolution. But still in a way that feels almost prehistoric. You have stopped arguing as much. Stopped explaining yourself. Stopped justifying the choices you used to defend loudly. There is a quality of quiet around you that the people who know you have noticed even if they cannot name what has changed. Most people assume this is withdrawal. Sadness. Giving up. It is not. It is preparation. Bruce Feiler, who spent years studying human life transitions, described what he called lifequakes, the seismic internal events that precede major reinvention. He found that in the period just before significant change, people frequently enter a phase of unusual stillness. They stop reacting. They stop leaking energy into conflicts that no longer matter. Quietly, without announcing it, they begin organizing themselves. Not consciously, instinctively, as if something in them already knows that the next chapter requires a different kind of self. What this means for you is this. That stillness you have been living inside, the one that might look like withdrawal to the people around you, may be the most productive thing you have ever done. Your soul has already packed its bags. Your body is just waiting for your mind to catch up. You do not have to explain this to anyone. Sign number 6. You keep returning to a version of your life that does not exist yet. In quiet moments in the shower, on the drive, in that half-awake space before morning fully arrives, you find yourself returning to a life that is different from the one you are living. Not a fantasy. Something more specific than that. A feeling. A quality of daily existence. A pace. A kind of conversation. A kind of room you imagine yourself working in or resting in. Something small and particular that you have not been able to stop imagining. Most people assume this is escapism. Avoidance. Proof that they are ungrateful for what they have. It is not. It is a map. Victor Turner, building on Van Gennep's work, found that during liminal phases, those threshold periods between identities, human beings naturally generate what he called a vision of the next self. The imagination does not drift randomly. It moves toward coherence, toward fit. The version of your life you keep returning to in quiet moments is not a distraction from your real life. It is information about the life that is trying to become real. What this means for you is this. That place you keep going in your mind, that specific, persistent, private imagining, is not wishful thinking. It is orientation. Your inner compass has already found the direction. The question is only whether you are willing to trust it. I want to speak directly to someone watching this. At some point, maybe recently, maybe years ago, you had a moment. A quiet, ordinary moment that broke something open in you. Maybe it was a morning you woke up and simply could not pretend anymore. Maybe it was a conversation that ended and left you standing in your kitchen understanding that something had to change. Maybe it was a loss. Maybe it was a success that felt entirely hollow. Maybe it was nothing you could name, just a feeling that arrived and would not leave. Maybe it was recent. Maybe it was years ago. But you know the moment I am talking about. And since then, you have been carrying this feeling. The strange heaviness. The restlessness. The sense that you are living in a room that is too small. And some part of you has been wondering if this feeling means something is wrong with you. If you are too sensitive, too disconnected, too difficult to satisfy. I'm not going to tell you that was nothing. Marcus Aurelius, writing 2,000 years ago in the middle of an empire he never asked to rule, asked, frightened of change? But what can exist without it? He was not a philosopher in the comfortable sense. He was a man who had to navigate profound personal transformation while the world watched. And what he understood, what all the evidence we have accumulated since confirms, is that discomfort and change are not opposites. They are partners. The feeling you have been carrying is not the signal that your life is collapsing. It is the signal that your life is reorganizing. You were right to pay attention. You were not wrong to feel it. Sign number 7. You are exhausted in a way that is not about rest. You sleep. You try to sleep. You do the things that are supposed to help. And you wake up carrying the same weight. Not because your body is broken. Because you are spending enormous energy maintaining a life that no longer fits. The exhaustion is the cost of the gap between the life you are living and the life your entire system knows you need. Epictetus understood something about this kind of tired. He spent his life observing what happened when human beings tried to hold static a world that insisted on moving. He saw the particular, specific depletion that comes not from hard work but from resistance. From the effort of standing still when everything in you is preparing to move. What this means for you is this. That exhaustion you cannot explain and cannot fix with weekends or vacations is not weakness. It is information. It is your entire system, body, mind, everything underneath asking you to stop spending energy on the old fit and start spending it on the new one. The heaviness is not permanent. It is incubation. One period of this came after what felt like complete numbness. Not sadness. Not even grief. Just fog. A total absence of color. Moving through days like moving through water. And looking back, it was not emptiness at all. It was energy withdrawing from what had stopped working before it could rebuild what came next. Immediately after the fog lifted came the most alive, most creative, most precisely right period of life. That is what this feeling is. Not a breaking down. A breaking through. Before you scroll, think about the one pattern you have been pretending not to see. Not the obvious one. The real one. Drop just one word in the comments. Tell me what was happening in your life when this feeling first arrived. What was the sign? I read every one. Because the feeling you came here trying to understand, the one that sent you searching at this particular moment, that is not random either. You were already looking. And something was already ready to be found.